Well, it might be the prettiest ground in the country, but Central Coast Stadium has proved to be anything but idyllic for the Mariners of late. 3 home losses out of 4, as many as they lost in the entirety of last season. Means today's encounter with Sydney FC takes on added importance for Nick Montgomery's team, particularly with another F3 derby to come here on Wednesday night. Let's have a look at the teams. 3 changes for the Mariners. The headline news is that Garang Kuol starts in the A-League for the first time, with his move to Newcastle in the Premier League imminent. Marco Tullio shifts into attack with Paul Ayongo missing through a hamstring problem. Brian Kaltak returns to the defence after serving his suspension, and Storm Roux is preferred to Thomas Aquilina at right back. Nectar Triantis also drops down to the bench. Now, a couple of changes for Sydney FC. Jack Rodwell's comeback lasted just 45 minutes against Melbourne City, so Aaron Gerd is restored to the defence alongside James Donachie. The other change sees Robert Mack return after illness, with Patrick Wood dropping down to the bench. A bench that also includes Patrick Yazbek, who's recovered from his own illness problems, and Adam Lafondra, who scored a hat-trick in the last meeting between these 2 clubs. Sydney FC in their change strip of predominantly all white. And it is Robert Mack who gets the ball rolling for the 51st meeting between these 2 New South Wales rivals, a fixture that's produced an average of over 3 goals per game. And with those 2 rather shaky defences, might we see some more today, Phil Moss?
Well, I think we may, Simon. It equals great opportunity, doesn't it, for goals in this game. Neither team where they want to be defensively, but great to be here for this one today. There's so many aspects of this game that excite me. The qual factor, of course, but having Mack back for Sydney FC, I think, is a big in for Steve Corica to try and build some consistency off that great win over Melbourne City last week.
Lolly. I hit the byline and get the cross in. Farrell makes the block. Sydney will have a corner. Good, and Donachie lurking at the back post. Lolly's delivery. Kaltak away. Bratton. Slightly heavy touch. Worked out by Gerd towards Caballo. Kaltak again. And Bratton! Oh! Wow! That was really travelling. Danny Vukovic could only stand and admire as it thumped back off the crossbar.
What a strike from Luke Bratton. That is absolutely outstanding technique from the Sydney FC midfielder, and he knows it. He knows how close he was to scoring a goal of the season contender. Look at that for a first touch, take the defender away, and then he absolutely rifles it into the Central Coast Mariners crossbar.
Oh, what did we say a couple of minutes ago? He doesn't score too many, but when he does score, then they're normally ones to remember. And that was as clean a strike as you could wish to see. Good turn by Ballard in midfield. And they miss out Tullio from Kololo. Here's Tullio! And the Mariners hit the frame of the goal at the other end. Incredible.
Well, you couldn't write the script, could you? From one crossbar to the other post, down the other end of the pitch. Fantastic run and finish from Tullio. Did everything but find the back of the net, of course, but it was a great little run and ball in behind. Fantastic. Look at the weight of that pass.
Well, Marco Tullio, you might remember, hit the crossbar against the Newcastle Jets in the opening 3 minutes of the game last week. He's going to feel he's a bit cursed at that end of the ground. Still alive here, though, for the Mariners. That's easy pickings for Redmayne. Sydney a little bit sloppy in picking up their opponents from that throw. Slightly asleep at the wheel.
And then backing off in the box, and you can't do that. Someone of Tullio's quality, well, anyone in that position, really, you've got to go and put forward pressure on the ball. Gee, that pass from Benny and Kololo into the path of Tullio.
Here comes Sydney at the other end. It's Robert Mack trying to place it. And Vukovic could only palm it into the path of Paolo Retre. And Sydney strike early in Gosford. A rare goal for Paolo Retre. Too hot to handle for Danny Vukovic. Sydney lead.
Well, we shouldn't be surprised at all, Simon, should we? It's gone from one end to the other and then back to the other end, and Paolo Retre has made a wonderful midfielder's run after great work from Robert Mack on the Harvey Norman replay. Danny Vukovic couldn't hold it. Paolo Retre, like all good midfielders, following it in, but credit to Caceres too for the killer pass into the path of Mack. Did everything right, tried to go across the goalkeeper. Paolo Retre with what is a rare goal, but a very important one for Sydney FC.
Well, Danny Vukovic will be disappointed that he couldn't push it away from goal, but it had a fair bit of pace on it from Robert Mack, and Paolo Retre pounced for his first goal in the competition since he scored a brace against Adelaide United back in January 2020, so almost a 3-year wait between drinks. Ballard driving forwards. Nisbet. And here's a chance potentially for Tullio. There's offside. Again, it was just a slight delay before the flag went up.
Just all a little bit stagnant, I should say, inside the box for the Mariners when they work the ball into those areas, and they do it well. Just all a little bit static.
It's sort of become a familiar story. It's clearly offside for Marco Tullio. They were flat in the first half against the Jets last week. The good news for the Central Coast, their last 4 matches they've scored 10 second-half goals. They seem to come alive after the break. Maybe their coach gives them the full Monty at half-time.
There is some magic within those 4 walls of the Gosford dressing rooms.
Are you a teacup thrower, Mossy? Or?
No, I did hurt my knuckles a couple of times on the whiteboard, but didn't make a habit of it.
You've got to pick your moments, haven't you?
You do.
Mariners free kick. Nkololo bundled over. It's been taken quickly. Quall into the box. Tullio! 1-1! An inch-perfect delivery from Garang Quall. And the Brazilian says thank you very much. And nets his first goal for the Central Coast Mariners. And we're all tied up.
Well, for the first time, it was Sydney FC caught flat-footed inside their own box. And Tullio makes them pay as we see the ball worked out to Garang Quall on the Harvey Norman replay. Look at that for delivery. He's just lifted it in between a couple of Sydney FC defenders. Donachie can't get there, but Tullio can, and that's a wonderful finish. It's had a good feel to the first half, Simon. At both ends, Sydney FC probably dominating possession. There's been a good open feel to it.
And we did say there would be goals. Here goes Garang Quall again. Held up by Gerd. By the way, that now means that goal that Sydney have failed to keep a clean sheet in 11 matches now. The last one they kept was in that 5-0 win against the Mariners here in April. Aaron Gerd wrestled off the ball. Tullio. Could they go into the sheds in front? Here's Nisbet. I tell you what, if that passing lane was on for Cummings, I fancy that was 2-1.
Yeah, absolutely. Donachie did a great job there to block that passing lane. He knew how important it was to keep himself big.
Benny and Kololo to deliver the corner. Hall, Caltac, Cummings, Farrell all looking to make their move in that little cluster at the back post. And Kololo drives it in. Oh, and Redmayne could only get a touch. Scoop back towards goal by Caltac. And in by Dan Hall. What a turnaround for the Central Coast Mariners. 2 goals in 3 minutes. And Dan Hall, perhaps an unlikely scorer, but the Mariners won't care. They lead.
Well, what a turnaround by the home side. That's exactly what coach Nick Montgomery would have been looking for. And Dan Hall, there was only ever one player that was going to head that ball into the back of the net. You can see on the Harvey Norman replay, delivery into the back post area. Caltech lifts it back into a dangerous area. Dan Hall was the only one attacking it. Everyone else flat-footed as Redmayne was flapping. Look at that, great leap above 2 or 3 Sydney FC defenders. Andrew Redmayne will be so disappointed with that.
A punch in the air from Nick Montgomery. There's a fair bit going on in that brain, you reckon, at the moment?
Yeah, I think the blood pressure is rising rapidly.
And that is half-time. 2 goals in 3 minutes. Both headers for the Mariners. First, Marco Tullio to cancel out Paolo Retre's early goal, and then Dan Hall with just his 2nd ever strike in the A-League men's competition, and that is enough to give the Mariners the advantage at the break after they'd started this game fairly slowly in an attacking sense. Sydney were good for half an hour, but at the interval it is the Mariners who hold the advantage by 2 goals to 1. Second half almost ready to go in Gosford. Sydney FC have made a change at the interval. Max Burgess, who suffered that blow to the head in the first half and is undergoing concussion tests, has been replaced by Adam Lafondra, who you might remember scored a hat-trick in this fixture the last time it was played in April. Sydney FC winning 5-0 that day. And with 45 to go this afternoon, they trail the Mariners by 2 goals to 1. So the great entertainers of the league, these 2 clubs, have lived up to the billing. Start of a big week for the Mariners. Of course, they've got the Jets to come to this venue on Wednesday, the 2nd instalment of the F3 Derby. Talking of derbies, of course, the big occasion in Melbourne to come a little bit later on in this A-League men's competition. Farrell. Ballard. Roux. Now Quall. Around Caballo with ease, and he drives towards goal. Wants the corner. He's not going to get it. And again, a little flash of excitement.
He's just got that knack, hasn't he? Storm Roux plays him in, little nutmeg. Didn't get the strike that he was looking for. I think he was looking for a little bit of a reverse swing there.
Second change for the Central Coast Mariners. Jason Cummings, who's been a touch quiet this afternoon. Perhaps still feeling the after effects of the World Cup. He's going to be replaced by Michael Roux. Or is it going to be Jason Cummings? I think they've changed their minds. Yeah, it's going to be Garang Quall. And Sydney are going to make a change of their own. Their 3rd. They're going to replace Robert Mack with Adrian Segicic. So 66 minutes on starting debut for Garang Quall. 1 assist for the equalising goal for Marco Tullio, and he'll be all the better for those starting minutes, Mossy.
He certainly will. It was great to see him start an A-League game for the first time. His contribution, he can leave the pitch with his head held high, both with and without the ball. I thought he did his job today.
Oh, Luke Bratton just dwelt on the ball a touch too long there. Fortunate to get away with that. Lolly. Driving the visitors forward. Caceres. Within range. Took a deflection. Sydney corner.
good football from Sydney. Joe Lolley at the heart of it again, driving at that Mariners defence, finding Caceres in good space, cutting inside, being positive with the ball. Ultimately not enough to trouble Vukovic. No good a set piece out of it.
Caballo delivers. It came ultimately off the head of James Donachie. Lafondra claiming that he was bundled to the ground. Let's have another look. Well, we don't quite see what happened there between Tullio and Lafondra. They were already both on the deck.
That's right. And Donachie joined them.
Scooped forward by Hall. Easy win in the air for Gerd. Here's Joe Lolley. Lafondra couldn't quite get enough purchase on the return. It's all a bit scrappy from both teams. Sydney get the verdict here. Get a hold in from Silvera. Late afternoon sunshine in Gosford. Which can make it a bit tricky for Danny Vukovic. And Redmayne at the other end. Caballo's free kick. Donachie looking to go for it. But Kaltak here again. Strong play from the central defender. Corner already taken. Top of the box is Bratton. Finding the angle. Luke Bratton. And Vukovic got a strong arm. Down low to his right to deflect it behind.
Smart save by Vukovic. Bratton, you thought, was just opening his body to go for the far post, and he picks the near post, trying to deceive the Central Coast Mariners goalkeeper.
Lolley. Caceres. Thought he delayed too long there, but he's found Yazbek. Mariners with everybody behind the ball. James Donachie invited to go down the line. Not really his go. Well, Sydney, you sense, starting to push, which they have to do. Segicic. Leaves it for Lolley. Joe Lolley. And again, Vukovic with a very smart and clean catch.
He had to be sharp there, Vukovic. That strike from Lolley, as we see a great angle of it. That packed some power behind it, didn't it?
Farrell. A little bit short for Silvera. He's done well to retrieve that. Roux. Turned back by Roos. Elizabeth infield for Triantis. And the ricochet favours Silvera. And then a foul on Ryan Grant. Patrick Wood picked up a whack in the challenge before that as well. He's trying to get the boot back on at the moment. Segicic losing out to Kozewski. Floats it forward nicely for Roos, who knew exactly where Silvera was. Rather unorthodox way of trying to find him. Got loose from Yazbek. Roos trying to worry James Donachie. Bratton going route one, looking for Lafondra. Down Hall underneath it. Steadied down by Kaltak. Farrell. He's done really well there, the fullback. And only as far as Bratton. Is there something still in this for Sydney? Yazbek. Away is the cry from Danny Vukovic to Stormroo, and he obliges the fullback at the expense of a Sydney corner.
Well, this is as good an opportunity as Sydney will get, or have had in the last little while. They need to make the most of it.
Caballo's delivery towards the back post, a looping corner. Picked up by Joe Lolly. Charged down by Silvera. All hands on deck for the Mariners. Now Roos with a chance to launch the counter for the Central Coast. Threads it through. It's 3-on-2 here for the Mariners. It's Sammy Silvera trying to thread it through, and it just would not fall for them.
Well, that surely would have put the game to bed for the Mariners had they converted that opportunity, but you could see as they burst forward, the front two, Nisbet, were trying to communicate who's going to run where, and in the end, it was probably the right option. It just caught a little bit flat-footed.
Grant is heading for the corner. Sydney want the throw. They're not going to get it. And the Mariners have Sydney right where they want them. And there goes the full-time whistle. Now the roar from the home fans. The Mariners have stopped the Rocks on their home deck after 2 consecutive losses. Dan Hall, and before him Marco Tullio, after Paolo Retre had given Sydney FC an early advantage. And despite that late thrust from the visitors, Nick Montgomery's team held on. They moved back into the top 6 on the ladder, overtaking Sydney FC into the bargain, who are back in the doldrums after that morale-boosting home win over Melbourne City last week. Back to the drawing board for the Sky Blues, who have been for the 4th time in 8 matches this season, but all smiles for the Central Coast Mariners. They had to work hard for that. There was a bit of drama towards the end. Cracking entertainment across the 90 minutes. Brian Kaltak was outstanding at the heart of defence, repelling raid after raid from Sydney FC. No wonder he smiles. No wonder the Mariners collectively do as well. Full time in Gosford. Central Coast Mariners 2, Sydney FC 1.